Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I know the gentleman from Minnesota points out that it's midnight, or actually now it's going on almost 1 a.m. on Friday morning, and that may be a reason to move ahead, despite maybe not knowing exactly what's ahead of us. But I would suggest that dealing with the derivative provision is probably one of the most significant and can have one of the most profound impacts upon our economy if we get it wrong. Here we are in very tough economic times when many families are affected by unemployment, and there's no sign in sight where that's going to be coming down anytime soon. And so the low cost or the consistent cost of food and other commodities is probably more important now to those families who are trying to stretch a dollar than anything else. And the importance of trying to find a new job is probably at the top of their list. And that's why getting it right with regard to derivatives is so fundamentally important. You know, they have been demonized, but at the end of the day, a derivative is simply allowing the underlying risk of an asset to be traded between two parties as a financial product. In the instance of food, that may mean for the benefit of your grocery store locally or the farmers or the food companies that they can use derivatives simply to hedge their risk when they have bad weather or droughts or excess rain or widespread freeze. All those things benefits your local businesses. Now, the regulations being considered in the underlying text, and I appreciate the gentleman from Oklahoma for his basic amendment here, may threaten, the underlying text may threaten the ability of some of those very same businesses in your district to utilize these products. As I say, unfortunately, these products have been demonized from day one in our hearings as being overly complex and the cause of the financial problem we're in right now. But there was no one who came to any of our hearings who could point blame specifically to the economic collapse being on the backs of these derivatives. In fact, they played a very minor role in all of it. And what we've seen instead out of committee and comments elsewhere is basically a knee-jerk reaction. And what you're talking about doing, in essence, is to try to apply bank-like regulations to non-bank market participants. And by doing so, you threaten to harm this sector. You know, the vast majority of over-the-counter derivative marketplace, as I say, has nothing to do with this the problems, but they are a profoundly important management tool for virtually all large companies and many medium and small-sized ones. So while the House derivative title that we are offering as an amendment today is not perfect, as the gentleman from Oklahoma concedes, I'll tell you I have particularly concerned about the, I guess you say, overly bureaucratic two-prong CFTC SEC structure set up. Since this language has gone over to the Senate and they got hold of it, I think you would agree that they made it a lot worse. Yes, okay. You know, when our financial markets are crying out for what the chairman's talking about, certainty all the time, we are not getting it here. Now, if your amendment does not pass, companies throughout this country will not be able to prudently manage their risk because they have come to rely on these products. And they'll find that basically it is just too darn expensive or maybe just too complex and I guess you call it unwieldy, and so they may no longer be able to wield them at all. In other cases, another aspect to it as well, and that is the capital aspect. Too much capital under some of the proposals here will actually be tied up. And on the energy front, I remember early on some folks coming from the industry saying, you know, we have all these great ideas as investments in alternative energy, right? But they said, if you change capital requirements through some of these requirements, well, we're going to have to move that money away from these new alternative energy projects we would like to do and use that capital to invest in energy reasons instead. So it's unfortunate the language that we've seen previously because the end users in the OTC marketplace are not systemically risky and really had nothing to do with our financial crisis. And on that job front, let me just point this out. There was a recent study by the Keybridge Research. They found that a requirement to impose initial margin on OTC derivatives could lead to, 100 to 120,000 jobs lost within the S&P 500 companies. So that means if we don't get this right, we could see the unemployment rate just going up continuously high, more, because we did it in the wrong way and imposed improper margin requirements. I will also add that the amendment that you have here retains the Murphy Amendment regarding the definition of major swaps participants, and that was one that received strong bipartisan support, 300 votes, I think it was, in the House. And one of the key prongs of that Murphy Amendment made it clear that a major swap participant outstanding swaps creates a net counterparty exposure that could have serious adverse impacts on the financial stability of the United States banking system. So I commend the gentleman again from Oklahoma for including that as well.